Naveen, time பண்ண.
Yes, Vaishnavi, we can see.
Hi. A very good morning to everyone present here. It is a great honor to me to welcome you all to this national webinar organized by National Service Scheme on behalf of Nazareth College of Education for Women, conducting a webinar on futuristic and challenges in agricultural water management. I welcome our resource person, Dr. A. Gurusamy, Professor of Agronomy, Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, Agricultural College and Research Institute, Madurai. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Mr. A. N. Henry Morris, Secretary of Nazareth Group of Institution. I welcome Dr. B. Golden Kisha, Principal. I welcome Mrs. B. Tamilarasi, our SAP Officer, Water Management. I welcome Mrs. P. Gayatri, our Organizing Secretary. I also welcome all the participants of today's national webinar. I would like to introduce our resource person, Dr. A. Gurusamy. He has 22 years of experiences in handling various courses. He acted as staff associate and staff advisor at AC and RI. He has organized stakeholders workshop on SSI issues. He has received three recognition certificates for obtaining externally funded schemes from Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, Coimbatore. Also obtained Best Extension Worker Award of Tamil Nadu Agricultural University for the year 2012. He also published many books and articles in both national and international level. I over this session to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your warm welcome.
Thank you, sir.
So, well, respected Dean of the Nazareth College of Education for Women, Chennai, the Organizing Secretary of the National Webinar, then a SAP Officer of the NSS, then other faculty members of the college, and importantly, the participants of this national webinar. So, good morning to all. So, today my topic is futuristic and challenges in agriculture water management. Okay. So, in the present situation, so being an agriculture scientist, so I have to focus on issues just before going into this topic. So, in the one side, we are facing a climate change that impact climate change has an impact on water availability, especially rainfall, then temperature and carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. On the other hand, due to industrialization or industrialization, okay, of course, which is also need of our country regarding GDP. So, the industrialization has given more impact on environmental hazards or environmental issues, that is environmental pollution. So both water as well as ground as well as surface water quality has gone down or deteriorated, and the factory also polluted or it has also led to environmental degradation. On the other hand, the coupling behavior of monsoon. Okay, so we people know we are receiving a monsoon, or we are handling monsoon, that is the southwest monsoon as well as northeast monsoon. So if you analyze the recent past, the analysis says that suppose if you take a 10 years of a monsoon period, nearly 3 years they are receiving normal onset of monsoon or normal rainfall, you can say. And out of 10 years, we used to receive 3 years as a shortfall, that is a below average of rainfall. Then 3 years, that is once in 3 years, 10 years, out of 10 years, so 3 years we used to receive optimal rainfall, and only 1 year, okay, only 1 year we used to get the abnormal, that is high rainfall. So this is the forecast given by the NTMR WF, New Delhi. Okay, that means so water availability is a questionable one. So at present we are enjoying, especially the agriculture sector is enjoying the present level, that is nearly 72%. Okay, but it is not guaranteed in future. That means, so the major consumer or the lion's share of available water is being shared by agriculture sector, which is not guaranteed in future. That means the major consumer of available water resource has to face the water scarcity in future. It is not too far away. So now we are in 2020, we will be facing a water crisis by the year 2025 and subsequently 2050. So this is the milestone. Okay. So on the one hand, we are having demand, okay, for production, but in the other side, our natural resource is not sufficient to meet out the demand. So we will be facing a lot of crisis in near future, especially for agriculture sectors. Okay. So at this juncture, so the topic, that is what are the future challenges in agriculture water management, it will be ideal one. Just I had an opportunity to work in the ICRIP water management scheme of central government for the last 9 years. So with that experience, just I am going to discuss the water availability, and of course my flow of presentation goes as the global and Indian scenario or situation with respect to water availability or water scarcity. Then as a layman, we should know what are the different types of water which is available for our use. Okay. Then what are the potential, that is the water resources of India as well as the water resources of Tamil Nadu. Then the important aspect, that is what are the challenges in water management, okay, in which so our agriculture system facing lower irrigation efficiency. So just I will focus on the important aspect. What do you mean by irrigation efficiency? What is the efficacy of our existing irrigation system, that is command area system? Then what are the policy options to produce more crop per drop of water? So this is the need of our, okay, so this is the need of our with the existing crisis system. Then what are the options, that is sign of co, that we can focus to enhance the water productivity in agriculture sector. And finally conclusion, that is a do's and don't do's. Okay. So to start with the global situation. So here you can see the global map, and of course here there are 4 types of water scarcity that we are going to face in the near future by end of 2025. First one is physical water scarcity. So here physical water scarcity means the nations or the situation wherein or the regions wherein 75% of the natural resource, that is surface as well as groundwater, is being used for agriculture purpose as well as domestic purpose. Okay, that means we have to or the areas or the regions which is more rely on the surface as well as groundwater resource, that is more than 70%. Okay, and of course here the scarcity implies, or what do you mean by scarcity? The gap between the demand and the supply, or you can say the gap between existing water supply and the demand for various sectors. So if there is a scarcity that is more than 78%, then we used to say it is physical water scarcity. And the second one is approaching physical water scarcity. That means 60% of the area is going to face a water crisis. That is approaching, that is nearing physical water scarcity. Then third one is economic water scarcity. So here nearly more than 25% of the available water resource is being used for agriculture as well as other purpose. Yeah, of course, the water availability is more, it is being used effectively, but there is the malnutrition, or you can say, but malnutrition exists. So this is called economic water scarcity. And the fourth one is little or no water scarcity. That means the water availability is abundant, there is no problem, but less than 25% of the water is being effectively used for agriculture as well as other purpose, right? And in near future, there will be scarcity to the tune of 25%. So this is called little or no water scarcity. And there are some areas wherein which is not being assessed. And if you see the global map, especially in Asian countries, so you see all the Asian countries are going to face physical water scarcity, that is red color, physical water scarcity, and some of the countries are going to face, or it is nearing the physical water scarcity in future. Whereas you see in other countries, Europe or South African, there, or you can say there is no water scarcity, or they are experiencing little water scarcity in the near future. Okay, so this is the global situation will be with water availability during the year 2025. Yeah. Then coming to India, you just see, yeah, here just I am focusing the first one. So if you see the northern, especially western part of our country, okay, wherein we are having most of the river flow, that is Sabarmati, Mahanadi, Narmada and everything. So especially Gujarat, then Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana and Delhi. So they are going to face physical water scarcity with the nearing future. And so if you see Tamil Nadu, okay, so we are approaching the physical water scarcity. That means we are going to face in near future, and most part of the countries, okay, not be, of course, it is not going to face water scarcity, but the productivity is there, water availability is there, but the malnutrition will be exist by the end of 2025. Okay, and if you see the Indian agriculture system, okay, so agriculture, so we know very well our country is the agriculture production system or more depends on agriculture system, and of course nearly 70% of the available resources, especially inputs as well as the labor force is being used for agriculture system, but the productivity and the contribution towards GDP is only 16%. Okay, and it contributes nearly 10% of the export, that is a national export, and nearly 50% of the labor force is being used for agriculture production system. So this is the scenario or the situation in our country. Okay, then if you see the the water availability and the water scarcity and the future forecast. Okay, so this slide shows what are the available resources in India, especially India and ASEAN countries, and what is the existing demand and what is the forecasted demand by the end of 2050, and what will be the growth rate, that is population, by the end of 2050. Okay, so just we can start from here. So by end of 2015, okay, the world population will be of okay 9.4 to 10.2 billion. Okay, in which 50% of the population is going to face water scarcity. So this is the fact, okay, that we are going to face. And if you see the Asian countries, nearly 75% of the people in Asia is going to face water scarcity. Okay, in the world level it is 50%, but in Asian countries, especially in India, 50% of the population is going to face water scarcity. Okay, and 2/3 of the population is going to or is occupying the metropolitan cities, or you can say urban population. Okay, and regarding water availability, it is you see it is 4,600 cubic kilometer at present, and so there will be a demand, or you can say the demand will get increased to the tune of 20 to 30% by the end of 2050. Then regarding water availability and the gap between demand and supply, yes, say you see by end of 2050, so will be all the demand will be of 1,180 billion cubic meters. It is BCM, and of course the outstripping total availability will be 1,137 BCM by end of 2050. So there will be a gap between demand and the supply, or demand and availability of water. Okay, and of course this is the existing water availability that you can see in the forthcoming slides. Okay, right. And of course the FAO forecast or the world water report says that so at present our metropolitan cities, capital like Delhi, then Bangalore, then Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, then Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu it is Chennai. So at present these cities are facing water crisis. Okay, so we are already running out of water. That is the actual meaning. Okay, then to better understanding of water footprints. Okay, so just I focus these slides. There are three types of water globally on Earth's surface, especially for agriculture production system. We are using three types of water. The first one is blue water, or you can say blue water footprint. It means water streaming from surface or groundwater reservoir. That means the major consumer is agriculture sector, and wherein the situation we are using both surface as well as groundwater potential for agriculture, then it is called blue water. Okay, and the second one is green water or green water footprint. That means the crop productivity or for agriculture production system, we are steaming. The water is steaming from rainfall and other form of precipitation. That means so the rainfed areas, the total rainfed areas of our nation, which contributes nearly 70% of the total cultivable area. Okay, that means here we solely depends on rainfall. Okay, we solely depends on effective rainfall. Okay, so here green water means the actual rainwater, or you can say the fraction of rainwater that soaks into the soil and made available to the crop plant. That is called green water. In agriculture sense, the fraction of rainfall or the fraction of rainwater actually enters into the soil surface and is being available to the and is being made available to the crop growth or crop plant. That is called green water. In other sense, in the engineering people, they used to say it is effective rainfall. Say, for example, suppose a place, say Chennai, if it is receiving 100 mm of rainfall, it does not mean that the all 100 mm of rainfall received during a particular day is being effectively used or effectively stored or effectively made available to our cropping activity. It doesn't mean that, right? Only fraction. So say for example, suppose if it is a sandy soil, nearly 65% of the rainwater is being stored in the soil and being made available to the crop plant. That is called effective rainfall. In case of heavy soils, say clay soils, okay, then it is reverse. That is only 35% of the or 35 mm of under rainfall which enters into the soil and made available to the crop plant. That is called green water. So here, the third one is the actual water used for environmental safety. Okay, either it may be surface water or groundwater. Okay, so here it is called grey water. Okay, the actual water which is being used for diluting the pollutants of industries as per the standards, as per the norms. That is called grey water. So here, after three, we are going to concentrate this second one, that is green water, because our major agriculture production system is relies on, or nearly 70% of the agriculture system is under rain-fed ecosystem. Okay. Then, so here, so this pictorial representation shows, or it gives just idea about how much water is being available, or how the available water is being shared by different sectors, starting from agriculture, industrial, then domestic, recreation, and environmental sectors. Okay, and of course, if you see, nearly 69% of the available water is being used for agriculture purpose, that is irrigation. Okay, and 15% of the available water is being used for industrial purpose, especially by oil refinery and manufacturing plants. Okay, and of course it is comparatively lower than the sector. Then nearly 15% of the available water is being used for domestic purpose, so that we know, for drinking, bathing, water, cooking, sanitation, and gardening. And the remaining 1% of the water is being used by both environmental, that is recreation, and environmental consumption. So this is the sharing, or this is the pattern of sharing available water resource by different sectors, right? Then coming to water potential or water resources of India. So this slide shows you the total budget of the available water resource. Okay. So before that, here just I want to give some more information. So India, we are receiving 1,194 mm of rainfall. So we used to get the annual rainfall of, the average annual rainfall of India is 1,194 mm, in which 78% is received, or you can say southwest monsoon contribute nearly 75% of the annual rainfall, and the remaining 25% is contributed by post monsoon season. Actually, in Tamil Nadu, we people used to call it as a monsoon period, or we used to call it northeast monsoon as a monsoon period. But in Indian perspective, it is not so. In Indian perspective, it is only one, that is southwest monsoon. And the northeast monsoon is called as a post monsoon season. Okay, so the major, nearly 75% is being shared by southwest monsoon, remaining by northeast monsoon as well as summer showers. Okay, and of course, we are having 328 million hectares of land. Okay, and the annual rainfall is 1,194 mm. Suppose if we receive the normal rainfall, that is 1,194 mm of rainfall in a year, totally we are getting, totally we are getting 392 million hectares of water. 392 million hectare meters of water. Okay, so here just I want to give a highlight here, say so in the forecast or in the media, we people used to see, so this much of mm or this much of a centimeter of mm has been received in high rainfall or like that. Okay, so what do you mean by 1 hectare mm or 1 hectare centimeter? First we should know, then only you can understand what we call million hectare meter. Okay, so here 1 hectare mm or 1 hectare centimeter is 1 hectare mm means, so suppose if they receive a quantity of 1 mm of rainfall over a land surface area, over a land area of 1 hectare, that is 1 hectare is equal to 250 cents or 2.5 acres or 10,000 meters square. Okay, so here suppose if there is 1 mm of rainfall, we can collect 1 lakh liters of water in a hectare area. That is the actual meaning. You just imagine 1 mm is equal to 1 lakh or 1 centimeter. Okay, sorry, 1 centimeter is equal to 1 lakh. Then you just imagine. So it is meter, and here the basic unit is a million hectare meter. You just imagine. So Suppose if there is a normal rainfall distribution all over India, we are getting nearly 392 million hectares of water. Just imagine how much water we are deriving or we are getting by means of rainfall. And there are some other sources or some other forms of precipitation, say snow or melting of ice glaciers. So in that way, or in that means, we are getting 8 million hectometers of water. Totally, we are getting or we are having the surface water potential of 4,000 million hectares. So here 400 means 392 from rainfall and 8 million hectometers from other sources. Okay, so this is the total water budget. Okay, and if you see the other dimension of the water budgeting, okay, so out of 400 million hectometer, so nearly 215 million hectometer of water is entering into the soil surface, or nearly 215 million hectometers of water is soaking the soil surface. Okay, and there is a huge amount of loss of water by means of surface runoff. It is 150 million hectometers, and the pathetic situation is nearly 70 million hectares of meter rainwater is being immediately evaporated into the atmosphere. Of course, this is the natural cycle, the natural hydrological cycle. Okay, so you just imagine 70 million hectometers of water is being just immediately after receipt of rainfall is being lost into the atmosphere. And so here, see, so out of 250 million hectometers, nearly 165 million hectometers is being stored in the soil profile, or it is being retained as a soil moisture. And so there are some other means of sources which contributes nearly 500 million hectometers. So the total water lost by means of vegetation, that is cropping activity or agriculture sector, is 170 million hectometers. You just imagine, out of 400 meters, nearly 170 million hectometers of water is being lost or sent, you can say, resent into the atmosphere. Already we have lost 70 million hectometers. Okay, then the second budgeting is, nearly 50 million hectometers is entered into the aquifers, that is groundwater aquifers, for groundwater recharge. Okay, and there is the other source that by means of rivers, then streams and irrigation means. So it contributes nearly 35 million hectometers. So totally 85 million hectometers is being recharged into the ground, or it is being available as a groundwater. Okay, and out of 85, only 43.3 million hectometers is utilizable. That is, it is readily available for usage. That is called utilizable groundwater. Okay, and the Central Groundwater Board has assessed only 12.8 million hectometer of water is being effectively used. Okay, so this is regarding groundwater. Then coming to surface water or surface water potential of India. So there are some regenerative flow, that is from groundwater, okay, to the tune of 45 million. Already we are having our run of water, that is in lake or rivers or channel, it is 150 million liters. And from other source we are receiving, we are adding another 45. Then, yeah, of course, there are some natural flow from other countries, that is outside of India. It is 20 million hectometers. So the total surface water resource is 180 million hectometers. Okay. Then you see, out of 180, the total utilizable surface water resource is only 69 million liters. And according to the Central Groundwater Board, only 31.1 million hectares is being effectively used. Okay. So we are having total 180, and the real usable water is 69. Out of 69, nearly 31.12 million hectares is being effectively used for industries, domestic, and our agriculture production system. So totally we are having, right? So 43.3 million hectares meters. So this is the total available water for agriculture, industry, as well as domestic purpose, right? Then So this will give the overall view of surface river basins of India, starting from yeah, Indus, Ganges, then Indus Basin, then of course Brahmaputra, then Mahanadi, then Godavari, then Krishna, and we are having Kaveri. Okay, so these are major river basins. So it depends upon the, yeah, in the groundwater, yeah, Ministry of Water Resource has grouped into three. That means the available resource, that is water resource, or yeah, the reservoir or command area, it is being grouped into three: major, medium, and minor. Here, major means suppose if the command area of a particular irrigation system or irrigation project is more than 40,000 hectares, then it is called a major irrigation system. And medium, it is 20 to 40,000 million hectares. And if it is less than 20,000, then it is called a minor irrigation system. So here just I have given focus to the major irrigation system, that is surface river basins of India. Okay. Then regarding groundwater utilization or groundwater exploitation in India, is just to see. And of course, our Indian agriculture production system is relies to the tune of 15%, or you can say agriculture sector itself exploiting or mining nearly 15% of the available groundwater or 15% of the groundwater. Okay, and so here based on the utilization or based on the critical level or based on the exploiting level, it is being grouped into safe, semi-critical, critical, then over-exploited, that is red color, then saline. Okay, and you see, so especially the intensive or the states which are having intensive agriculture product system as well as industrialization. Okay, so most of the states, that is of course Gujarat, Haryana, Punjab, then Delhi. So it's all over-exploited. And of course in the central as well as eastern parts of our country, it is safe, or you can say there are some pockets with the semi-criticals. Okay, but you see in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, especially in Tamil Nadu, of course in Tamil Nadu nearly 384 blocks are under critical level. That means it has exploited the groundwater like anything. So this is the actual level of groundwater exploitation. What will be the reason? You just see on the left side. So the major reason for over exploitation of the available groundwater resource is the government policies. Okay, you just see this also the extent of power subsidies, that is for EB. Okay, the power of course electrical current. So these are the contribution of various states. They are extending this much of subsidies. That is why the available groundwater is being exploited like anything. Okay, suppose if we restrict or the government has in a position to restrict the, okay, of course it is another issue, burn issue, but in the real sense, as per the forecast of the World Water Board or you can say the FAO, so these are the situation. You just see, of course we are in safe position, but there are some states which extends a huge or 100% subsidy that leads to continuous running of electrical motors and over exploitation of the groundwater potential, right? Of course, so this is the burning situation of India, and here just I want to focus what is the consumption, percentage of consumption of different sectors. You see, available groundwater resource, 92% is being shared or is being utilized by agriculture sector, only 5% by industrial and 3% for domestic consumption. And with available surface water resource, you see, it is nearly 89% is being used by agriculture sector, only 2% of the surface water is being used for industrial, and nearly 9% is being used by the domestic purpose or is used for domestic purpose. So this is the situation, right? And coming to the agriculture production system, okay, so India is having nearly 62.3 million hectares under irrigation. Of course, it is and compared to other neighboring nations which is on par or nearing, okay, but in total it is 217 million hectares. So this is the overall view of irrigated area, that is irrigation or irrigated agriculture in our country. Okay, and if you see the history of development of a irrigation project or the period over the period after independence, you just see. So there is a gradual development from 1950, that is after independence. Okay, so there was a gradual development, that is progressive development in India. But I can say, so there was a huge development between the year 85 to, 80 to 90. So this is the area or years wherein there was a huge, see, it is a 58 to 68. So there was a huge jump in progressive development of the irrigation project, right? And of course, in Tamil Nadu, we people are, so after the former Chief Minister, the Kamarajar, we didn't have, or we didn't have any irrigation project. Okay. Then, regarding a utilization pattern, okay, so just we have seen what are the resources available and what are the ways or the sharing pattern of different sector in agriculture. Okay, see, so nearly 32% is or 32% of the agriculture system is using canal water system, and 36% of our agriculture production system is using tube well, 22% is open well. So in total, we realize, you see, that's 22 plus 36, nearly 58% of the available, or 58% of the agriculture production system is solely depends on groundwater potential, right? And here the pathetic situation is, you see, only 5% of the tank irrigation system is being used, or you can say agriculture sector is using only 5% of the canal irrigation, tank irrigation system. So here so according to my view, according to my little experience, actually we have lost our own identity. We people, Tamil Nadu people has lost our own identity, because during the independence there was 58,558 tanks in Tamil Nadu. You just imagine. Okay, it has been gradually declined. Okay, and of course during the independence the tank irrigation system contributes nearly 17%, but it has been gradually declined, and the present situation is very worst. I can say it is only 5%. Okay, so in Tamil Nadu at present we are having only 41,000 tanks. Okay, so what happened to nearly 20,000 tanks over or after independence? Okay, so this is the alarming situation. Okay, so this is the source-wise irrigation area. Then, so this is just I have given a focus some facts about the water resource of Tamil Nadu, and of course we are having 4% of the total area, land area, and 6% of the population, but we are having only 3% of the water resources in the country. Okay, and here the situation is most of the Tamil Nadu is situated by location. It is situated under shadow region of Western Ghats. Otherwise, you would have got more amount of rainfall by southwest monsoon. Okay, and we relatively more depends on northeast monsoon, that is October, November, and December. And the average distribution of rainfall is 945 mm. And of course, on an average, southwest monsoon contributes nearly 322 mm, whereas northeast monsoon contributes 454 mm of rainfall. And the alarming situation is the per capita water availability of our state is only 800 meter cube. You just imagine, here 1 meter cube is equal to 1000 liters of water. 1 meter cube is equal to 1000 liters of water. Just I'll try to focus the per capita availability in the forthcoming slides. Okay, the per capita availability of water, the per capita availability of Tamil Nadu state is only 800 meter cube. So this is the alarming situation. Okay, then surface water resource. Okay, just so there are about 17 major river basins, and you can't imagine there are 61 reservoirs. Okay, at present, and nearly 42,000 sub tanks. Of course, so this is the statistics of year 2015. At present, we are having only 30 9,848 numbers of tanks in Tamil Nadu. Okay, and of course we are having 24 lakh hectares under irrigation, and nearly 90% of the surface water is available water is being used for agriculture system, right? Okay, so this is the scenario or the demand or supply and the production potential or the share of available water resource by the agriculture sector. Then coming to the important aspect of this topic, that is what are the challenges, okay, the common challenges in Indian agriculture sector. You see, as I told already, the industrial development, that is very, very important because it contributes, our agriculture system is contributing only 16% of the GDP and 10% of the national income, that is foreign income. But the industrial development and the other sectors, they are contributing more. So industrial development or industrialization is, it has to be, obviously, but it leads to some other issues. So the first one is industries more relies on groundwater, or it depleted the groundwater like anything. Okay, then so without perfect refinery system, it is being polluted the environment, and it also leads to land degradation. That is so nearly most of the cultivable area is being turned into uncultivable area, and of course totally it spoiled agricultural land production system or agriculture cultivation system. And of course in turn, whenever agriculture production system gets spoiled or polluted with industrialization, then it will ultimately affect the groundwater as well as surface water potential. Then it leads to health hazards, health issues. Okay, so these are the challenges in Indian system. Okay, let us see one by one. What are the major challenges, okay, ahead in Indian agriculture system or Indian water management system? Okay, the first one is water security. We have focused. The demand is high, and the demand is going to be high, and the water availability or the potential created is very low. So we will be facing lot of water scarcity. So the water security is not assured. Okay, and the second one is enhancing irrigation potential. Okay, so that has to be, that we will discuss in the forthcoming slides. We have to enhance the irrigation potential, whether we will see whether it is possible or not. Okay, then third one is bridging the gap between irrigation potential created, IPC irrigation potential created already, and irrigation potential used. Okay, so there is a gap. So while constructing the big or medium or small irrigation system or dam irrigation system, the targeted area is were high, but actual command area is very, very low. Here command area means the total area benefited by a particular command. Say either a Mattur dam or a Kaveri, of course, or a Vaigai river basin or Tamaravani command. So here command means the total area benefited by the particular irrigation system or bank irrigation system. So that is called command area. Of course, the targeted area is high, but the actual command area is very less. So there is a gap between IPC and IPU, irrigation potential created and irrigation potential actually used. Okay, then sustainable groundwater management. This is very, very important. Then flood management or flood forecasting. So this is another challenge. Okay, not only with the Indian agriculture system, for all other systems, either industry or domestic, okay, or environmental issues. Then drought proofing. It is just like forecasting of a flood, okay, or drought. Okay, then content use of groundwater and surface water. So here, content means, so whenever there is a water scarcity in agriculture production system, we have to use both groundwater, that is groundwater as well as surface water. Or you can say, whenever the quality has been deteriorated, okay, by means of or indiscriminate use of water or indiscriminate use of fertilizer or industrialization, okay, the groundwater is being polluted, or if the quality of the surface available surface water is poor, then we have to go for conjunctive use of both ground as well as surface water for effective production system. Then adaptation and mitigation measures in the climate change, in the face of climate change. Yeah, of course. So this is another important issue that we have to discuss in detail. Whenever there is a phase or whenever there is a climate change, okay, we have to face, we have to adopt some mitigation measures. Okay, then importantly, we have to enhance the water use efficiency of crops. Water use efficiency of crop. Here, water use efficiency means, or water use efficiency or water productivity means how much water is being used, how much or the quantity of water used for producing single kg of grain or single kg of tea or single kg liters of milk or single kg of meat. Okay, so this is called water use efficiency, okay, or water productivity. Okay, so that will be discussing. So here the water use efficiency of our agriculture production system is very, very low. So we have to enhance the water efficiency. Then we have to conserve the water for future generation. We have to conserve the water for future generation. Then, so this is at the government policy level. Then at user end level, that is at the stakeholder levels or at farmers level, there should be a participatory resource management. That means, of course, we know people, so government is spending a lot of amount of rupees for improving water or improving productivity of crops. Okay, and it is being spent by means of subsidy. Okay, so it is not enough. Okay, that means one side flow is not enough to meet out the requirements. So there should be participatory approach. That means farmers or stakeholder has also contributed to the sustainable development of or sustainable management. Then finally, recycle and reuse of wastewater resources. Okay, so these are the major challenges ahead in Indian agriculture production system. Okay, so let us see. Of course, being an agriculture scientist, just I want to discuss some important aspect. Okay, with respect to agriculture sector or with respect to agriculture production system. Okay, so if you see the foremost challenges that facing in the Indian agriculture system. Okay, so this slide shows the water demand. So this is projected by INI. So here it is a International Water Management Institute. Okay, located at Colombo, Ceylon. Okay, so they are the authority. So they have focused the water demand. So what was the demand during the year 2000, and what is the demand, or what will be the demand by 2025 and 2050? Okay, so here it is at BCM, billion cubic meter. Okay, and so just they are focused. Okay, what is the percentage of groundwater utilization or contribution of groundwater for different sectors? Okay, just to see irrigation at present, by 2000 it was around 605, and 2025 the demand is going to be increased by means of 70 PCM, and it's going to get down by 40 because so there is another, or there is a demand by other sector, especially industrial sector or as well as a domestic sector. Okay, so and of course if you see the demand of industrial sector, it was 42, and it is going to be, just imagine, it is going to be double or more than double, 92 BCM by end of 2025, and it will be around 161 billion. Okay, and the per share or the available groundwater resource will be, just see now, or at present it is around 45, and it is the demand will be increased by 6%. Okay, but the demand by the industrial sector will be high in the forthcoming years. So just they were given a so there will be a increase demand by end of 2050 to the tune of 15%. You see, domestic consumption and the demand or the jump will be 30%. For industries, it will be 30. Okay, so this is a projected demand or the demand of water for different sectors. Okay, and of course, so this is given in three-dimensional view. Okay. Then, so in a graphical representation, I think this could, yeah, it gives some clear idea, a clear picture about the demand by the various sectors. It just if you see it, yeah, this is great graph. It is now just imagine the demand of a domestic demand, and it is going to be doubled by end of 2050. Okay, right. Next, so one side, what is the, so just I have projected what is the demand, okay, and what is the potential or what is the availability of water, okay. So that we have seen already, total precipitation we are getting 4,000 BCM of water, and availability is only, yeah, utilizable is 1,869, and actual water resource available is only 1,122 PCM of water. So this is the fact, okay. And on the other hand, if you see the per capita availability means what is the actual quantity of water available for a single person in a year. That is called per capita availability, okay. And if you see the graph, so during the independence, it was around 6,000. That is during the year 1947, and 51 it was 5,000 or around 5,200. You see, so within 40 years, that is within 4 decades, okay, by end of 90, it was the per capita availability has drastically reduced or drastically declined to the tune of 2,200 or 2,210 meter cube per year. And of course, now it's also, the situation is alarming, okay. Here just I want to clarify one thing. Suppose, or whenever the per capita availability is yeah, 7,700 meter cube per year, then it is called as a water stressed condition. Or you can say the countries which are having the per capita availability of 1,700 meter cube per year, then it is said to be as water stressed nations. And of course, now we are under water stress condition. Nearing water stress condition, because our water availability is okay, it is 1,845 meter cube only at present, right? And by end of 2000, you just imagine, by end of 2050, we will be under trouble. That means we will be entering into the, okay, our water availability will be less than 1,100, and we will be under water scarce condition, or our nation will be put under water scarce nations. Okay, so this is the alarming situation. So on the other side, the demand is increasing, availability is getting reduced, per capita availability is getting reduced. Then, if you see the fact, or you can say fate of Indian agriculture production system, okay, so here crop productivity means how much kg of grain, how much kg of tapas, how much kg of pulses, how much kg of grains or tubers is being produced in a single unit of land. Here it is hectare. Okay, that is called crop productivity. And of course, this is the area production. Okay, good. But if you see these two columns, okay, the average productivity of wheat, rice, okay, maize, and everything has been given, especially sugarcane. And you just see the ranking potential of Indian production system depends upon our productivity. It is very, very low. We are not even under 5 or 10, not 5, even under 10. So it is, I think, more than 34. So of course, except sugarcane, all other crops, it is, yeah, except sugarcane, wheat, it is, we are ranking more than 50 with respect to our major crops. You see, rice. Okay, but there is a possibility. So here, just the highest potential is given. That means, yeah, already we are struggling with the demand, yeah, other demand or by other sectors, their water availability is getting reduced, or you can say the per capita availability is getting reduced. But in the real ground or in the real floor, the productivity of our agriculture crops are very, very less when compared to any other nations. Okay, our production system or the productivity of our major crops, say rice or wheat, okay, or cotton, which is very, very less when compared to other nations. Okay, right. So there is no doubt the irrigation potential creator has had or brought highest impact on productivity. So this is a statistical review. Okay, that means in agriculture production system there are major inputs, say soil, then nutrient management, then irrigation management, then weed management, then especially pest and disease management. So these are the focus area or the major inputs, okay, or which area which consumes more input. Okay, so among the all inputs, irrigation plays a major role. See, so their report says that so irrigation itself has a velocity of 0.32, whereas other factors, okay, say fertilizers or high yielding varieties, they are having the elasticity or they are having the potential of 0.04 or 0.09. That means if we could be able to increase the fourth point, that means if you could be able to increase the area, irrigated area by 1%, okay, that means our present area is say 46%. If you could be able to increase the irrigated potential by 1%, that will lead to 0.3% national productivity. Okay, so this is the actual fact. There is no doubt irrigation or irrigated agriculture is the only sector or is the only system which can feed the ever growing population or which can feed the growing demand. There is no doubt. Okay, or you can say in irrigated agriculture itself, or the productivity can be enhanced only with the irrigation system or irrigated agriculture. There is no doubt. But we have seen already the demand, supply, and the gap and everything. So here there are two questions put forth. Okay, is there is any possibility of increasing water productivity? Okay, or is there any possibility of increasing the area, irrigated area? Because we have to produce more, we have to feed the growing population, ever growing population. So in this context, at that context, whether there is a possibility of increasing water productivity, or is there is any possibility of increasing the irrigated area so that we can feed the growing population. So these are two questions put forth in front of the agriculture production system. Yeah, the answer is yes. We can increase the productivity of crops. That means we can produce more crop per drop of water. And for the second question, no, there is no possibility of increasing area under irrigation. Okay, there is no possibility of increasing the area under irrigation. That means that there is no chance to construct a new dam or new irrigation system in our country. That's no chance. Okay, so whenever we are increasing the area, whenever we are creating facility, we are potential, then only we can increase the area under irrigation or irrigated agriculture. There is no chance, because to save 1 cubic meter of water, that is 1000, or you can say, so there is a rainfall, there is a surface runoff, and if you want to construct a dam or tank or lake, okay, or simply if you want to construct a dam irrigation system so that we can save or we can able to save 1 cubic meter of water, that is 1000 liters of water, then we have to spend 1 crore rupees. So this is the actual situation. So there is no possibility of construction of new irrigation system and creating the potential for irrigation agriculture. No, there is no possibility. The first question, see, yes, there are possibility to produce more crop per drop of water, right? Yeah, and so these are some facts about in irrigated agriculture in Indian system or Indian irrigated agriculture production system. Okay, yeah, irrigation efficiency, and we need local participation, and of course there should be on-farm level or on-farm development. Okay, and of course lastly, the irrigation facility, okay, will be same, that means the potential is same, but we have to produce more. We have to produce more per drop of water. That means irrigation and will remain the key in Indian food security. Okay, so these are some facts about the irrigated agriculture system in India. Okay, right. So let us see. So what are the lack now? Okay, so we have seen the challenges and why we couldn't or attain targeted level. Okay, or why we are not in a position to attain the desired crop productivity. Okay, so there are some lag now that we should know. What is the actual problem with our existing system? Okay, in irrigated agriculture system. First one is the irrigation efficiency. Of course, it is not being assessed, okay, systematically. The overall guess or estimation says that the surface water efficiency or the irrigation efficiency of the surface irrigation system is only 35 to 40%. That means here you should know what you call irrigation efficiency and what do you mean by 35 to 40%. Say, for example, in a command area system, say in the Periyar Valley command, say, or in Matur, Kaveri command, say, for example, suppose if 1000 liters of water or 100 liters of water is being released for irrigation or irrigating or for irrigation, okay, only 35 to 40 liters of water is being reached with the farmland. That is the actual meaning. Okay, here efficiency means, say, suppose 100 liters of water is being released from the dam irrigation system or particular dam, and the end user level, it is only, or the actual quantity of water that enters into the cropped field or for agriculture use is only 30 liters or 35 to 40 liters. And what happens to other remaining 40 liters or 60 liters of water? Okay, so that is called irrigation efficiency. Just I will see or will focus what are the ways and means to enhance the irrigation efficiency of our Indian system. Okay, but in case of groundwater potential or in case of groundwater agriculture system, the efficiency, irrigation efficiency is, say, whenever we are dropping water or lifting water from a tube well or open well, then the irrigation efficiency is, total irrigation efficiency is 65 to 70%. That means, say, when we are lifting, or suppose we are lifting 100 liters of water from the tube well or bore well, only 70 liters of water is reaching to the field or enters into the field. That is the actual meaning. So that is called the irrigation efficiency. Okay. Then why the irrigation efficiency is very, very low in our agriculture system or Indian agriculture production system? So there are some means. So there is we are not having confined structure or pipeline structure. So we are still major irrigation or command or dam irrigation system are having earthen structures. Okay, and so that's why there is a more or excessive seepage loss of water whenever the water is being released from the dam. So there are possibility of, or you can say there is a excessive seepage loss of water. Then at the farm level or at the command area level, so the water management system is inefficient. You see, lack of maintenance, inadequate funds for maintaining. Okay, our government is allotting inadequate fund for maintaining annual maintenance of the command area system. Then low water charges. Of course, we are not charging, for the agriculture agriculture system. Then inequitable and untimely supplies. Okay, so we are not having it's a perfect operation plan. That is a release and close of water from the dam irrigation system. Then overuse of water by head reach. Of course, say for example, suppose if you take a Periyar Valley command, the head reach area we are having Tambam Valley or the district of Theni, Tindukal. Okay, or so they are using a huge amount of water. They are using huge, or they are drawing huge amount of water because they are having the potential, that is soil potential, that is their soil fertility status is high, and they are using major fraction of released water. Okay, then shift towards higher water consuming crops. So when the command area system or a particular dam has been constructed, so in the head reach area, okay, the farmers are still they are having an intention to grow high water consuming crops like banana or sugarcane or rice. Okay, so among all the crops, okay, rice is consuming more amount of water. On the other hand, the productivity is very low. The water use efficiency of rice is very, very low. Okay, that will be seen. Okay, so still the farmers are going for the actual meaning is still the command area farmers are growing rice. They are going for rice. Okay, that is actual meaning. Shift towards high water consuming crops. They are not choosing, or they are not, they are not having any other choice than rice. Okay. Then lack of involvement of stakeholders, farmers. Okay. Then some issues that can be considered for improving irrigation efficiency in irrigated agriculture. Okay. Then of course application of a sprinkler and the drip irrigation system. It is not common. It's not a common recommendation wherever applicable. Okay. The area or the region, okay, wherein the groundwater potential is being exploited or the groundwater potential is being used for agriculture system, then there you can recommend a micro irrigation system, that is either drip or sprinkler irrigation system. Then, if possible, automation of canal irrigation system, then volumetric measurement of supply. Of course, this will also lead to the perfect release, that is on-off system of water for the needy command area. Then thereby you can save the irrigation water, or you can say thereby we can enhance the irrigation efficiency. Then of course benchmarking irrigation system, there will be a definite role, okay, or benchmark for each command area. Then of course water auditing or budgeting, that we have seen in the second slide itself. So based on the demand, based on the crop growth stage, based on the water requirement of the crop, the water has to be released from the command area. Okay. Then finally, appropriate pricing of water. So this is of course it's a policy issue. Okay. Of course, and the time will change. Okay. In the forthcoming years, each and every farmer, even in the command area, they have to pay for the water. If the situation turn like thing, then definitely, so the farmers will not wastage or will not waste the available water resource. Then obviously, or you can say automatically, the irrigation efficiency of the system will get increased. Okay. Yeah, of course, for enhancing the irrigation efficiency of the irrigation system, these are the actions to be needed. Okay. Then finally, what are the policy options? Okay. So that we have discussed. There are two ways. One is we have to increase the irrigated area or area under irrigation. There is no chance. Ultimate possibility is, or the only possibility is, we can enhance the productivity of crops. That is, we can produce, or we have to produce more per crop of water. Okay. So for that, I have given some policy options. Okay. The first one is a sustainable cropping pattern. That means evolving cropping plans based on available water. So depends upon the release of water, or depends upon the storage level of the command or storage level of the dam irrigation system, or depends upon the groundwater potential. We have to evolve a perfect or pakka cropping plan. Okay, thereby we can attain sustainability in water productivity or sustainable water productivity. Okay, then metering of irrigation water usage, and of course now the water is released based on the storage for cropping, that has to be metered. Okay, that means based on the demand, based on the actual area. So here just I want to highlight one thing. So in the command area, the water is released based on the old census. Yeah, that is the actual situation. But now, due to urbanization and industrial development, everything, the actual cropping area has been reduced. It has been declined. But still, the water is being released, or water is being given for the command with the old statistical information or old statistical data. It is not good. So we have to meter the irrigation water usage. Then, so I have discussed the conveyance loss is very, very high with our Indian irrigation system or irrigated agriculture system. So we have to reduce the conveyance loss of water. For that, piped water conveyance is very, very essential, especially in the canal command. Still, we are in major command area, we are having earthened structure, that is earthened canals or canals. So we have to convert into piped lines. Then enabling the farmers to know crop water requirement. So at the end user or stakeholder level, the farmers are not awareing. Say for example, suppose if you take rice under conventional production system or conventional flooding system of cultivation. So from the day one, that is from the transplanting to harvest or from the transplanting to maturity, okay, they are using or they are stagnating or they are impounding water to a depth of 5 centimeters. But it is not so. You just know one thing, rice is a water loving plant. It is not an aquatic plant. Rice is a water loving plant. That means it requires more amount of water for its growth and development. But essentially it doesn't require, or it won't say that I'll be growing in stagnating water. But our farmers are stagnating or importing 5 centimeters of water, more than 5 centimeters of water from day one to harvest. Okay. So we have to teach or we have to educate the farmers, okay, scientific community and the extension people, or we have to equip the farmers with technical knowledge on what is the actual crop water requirement, what is the stage-wise crop water requirement, that is CWR, okay, and of course efforts or we have to promote the on-farm utilities that we have already discussed, okay, that is a water harvesting, groundwater recharge and promotion of micro irrigation system. Then of course we have to conduct a mass campaign, that is by public as well as private enterprises on social cause, save water, save energy campaign. Then the another issue, okay, the burning issue is regarding groundwater utilization is, you see, commercial wells. If you take the central part of Madurai, just I want to quote an example. So around our college premises, of course, Madurai or Madurai College is located or coming under Periyar Command area. Around the college, there are about 17 commercial borewells. You just imagine, they are exploiting, they are trapping, okay, the groundwater like anything. Okay, so here the important issue is the licensing of groundwater wells. So there are some policy issues. So first we have to register the groundwater wells, that is commercial well. Then we have to fix the pumping intensity, that is between 2 commercial borewells. Then restricting the electrical connection based on pumping energy. So that is the another issue that has to be discussed in a detail. Okay, or I can say it's a burning issue. Okay, so we have to restrict the connection, electrical connection to the licensed pumping well, depends upon the capacity. Then of course promoting or target promotion of water conservation technology in grey and dark area, that we have discussed with the groundwater potential or groundwater exploitation. Okay, wherever the groundwater level or the groundwater potential has reached grey or dark, you just imagine, dark or grey, then there we have to promote the water conservation activity, or there we have to implement the water saving technology. Okay, then canal modernization. So here it has to be, it's a policy level with the government. Then irrigation science education. So here just it's my opinion. Okay, of course our accredited students or accredited graduates or we are giving educating, or we are educating our graduates, okay, with irrigation science. But from the school level, we have to focus on science of irrigation. Then so they should know what do you mean by irrigation, what is the crop water requirement, what is the actual potential, what is the demand, what is the gap between demand and supply. Then how best we can schedule the irrigation. So that is irrigation scheduling. Here irrigation scheduling means it's nothing but how much quantity of water to be given or how much quantity of water to be applied and when it should be applied. That is called scheduling. Okay. So how much quantity, that is either 5 centimeter or 5 mm or 2.5 centimeter or 25 mm. That is depth of irrigation. Another part is when we have to give or when it should be given. Or in the layman point of view, how much depth of water has to be applied and irrigation interval. That means the number of days between 2 subsequent irrigation, that is called irrigation interval. So that is called irrigation scheduling. And use efficiency, that is very, very important. So we have to focus the students or educating the students from school level to college levels, okay, especially in engineering graduate or engineering education system, they should know what you call irrigation, what you call irrigation scheduling, or what you call use efficiency of crops. So this is my opinion. Okay, then. So we already discussed in elaborate way the situation or pathetic situation of a tank irrigation system or tank command. So we have to focus or we have to reconstruct and rehabilitation of our own identity. Here I used to say the identity of Tamil people is a tank irrigation system. Okay, so we have to reconstruct and rehabilitate in our own tank irrigation system. Thereby we can achieve the target. Okay, and finally we have to change the food habits. I don't know whether it is possible, but in future we have to change. There is no way. There is no other way. You see. So here just I have given the water requirement per kg of crop or water productivity of crop. Not only crop, you see, grain-fed sheep, then lamb, then poultry and other cereals. Just to see. Here water requirement means how much liters of water is required to produce single kg of grain. Single kg of, say, in case of cotton it is kappas, lint. Rice it is grain. Sugarcane in terms of kg of cane or tonnes of cane. Soya it is grain. Then wheat it is grain. Potato, tuber, then sheep to produce 1 kg of sheep meat. Okay, you just see. So this is the water requirement of, okay, or you can say the actual water used to produce single kg of grain or meat or anything or poultry. Okay, so now, so of course it is not easy, but you have to change the food habit. That means we have to improve the consumption of cereals other than rice and wheat. Of course, our major food grains are rice and wheat, but in future we have to change the food habit. We have to give importance to other cereals. There are so many cereals. It is, of course, for Tamil people it is not new. Okay, there are millets, say sorghum or kambu. Okay, minor millets starting from ragi, varagi, panivaragi, tinai, kudravali, samai. Okay, so they are rich with nutrients and it is ideal for what you can say the balanced diet. Okay, so we have to change our food habit, and the important thing is we have to reduce the non-vegetarian. Because why I am saying this, you see, the water requirement or water used to produce single kg of beef or lamb or poultry, it is 3 or 4 times higher than the water requirements of crop or grains. Okay, so in future we have to produce more nutrition per crop along with more crop per drop of water. Of course, now the slogan is, our goal is more crop per drop of water, but in future it should be pronounced as more nutrition per drop of water. Okay, and of course, so what are the possible ways or sign of hope in future? Okay, just I have highlighted that we have discussed so many things, but what are the possible ways and means to enhance the water productivity or water use efficiency and sustaining the crop water productivity in irrigated agriculture is rainwater harvesting, irrigation water, better irrigation water management, or you can say need-based irrigation water management, then providing or construction of hydrological project that I have highlighted, okay, and finally artificial recharge to groundwater through cyclone. Okay, so these are the signs or these are the ways and means, okay, by which we can enhance the productivity of crops. Okay, finally, that I want to conclude with what are the activities, or you can simply say do's and don'ts with our daily activity. Okay, you see, the farmers have to mulch, thereby he can reduce the operational loss of water. And in our part, you see, turn off water while washing your hands. So these are the do's and don'ts. Thereby we can save water. And of course, being an Indian citizen, each and every person is having, okay, as you say, we are having rights for everything. We are having, as we say, each and every individuals are saying that they are having sold rice for sharing and everything at the same time, or you can say, similarly, we are having, or you can say, each and individual has rights or responsibility to save water. Okay, so we have to save each and every drop of water for which. So these are the options. Okay, with this, I am concluding my session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir, for this informative and interesting session. Our participants have few
Yeah,
questions
please.
from you, sir. Yes, sir. Question number 1. What are the ways to conserve water
Yeah, of
efficiently?
course. So in the layman or in the farmer's point of view, so they can go for water harvesting. So in the last slide I focused. So we have to provide water harvesting structures. So in the farm level, it is farm pond. Okay. The first and foremost thing is farm pond, and you have to save. Conservation means we have to conserve or we have to harvest the water and we have to store water, then it has to be recycled. So the best way is farming farm pond at the farm level. Okay.
Okay, sir. How to enhance the water use efficiency among the crops? This is another question, sir.
Yeah. So so it's, of course, it's another discussion. So it needs time. That's why I restricted my discussion. And of course, my area is or my interest area is micro irrigation. Okay. Say, for example, suppose if you take rice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the water requirement of rice is 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water. That means the water use efficiency is 3,000 to 5,000 liters. That means to produce single kg of grain, it requires 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water. This is the actual water requirement. But in the farmers' field, they are using, or they are using nearly 9,000 to 15,000 liters of water. 9 to 15,000 liters of water. Nearly they are wasting 1/4 or 1/3 of water. That means, of course, it's a major cereal crop, major grain crop or food crop. There is no doubt. It covers more area, but the water productivity is very, very less. Water use efficiency of rice is very, very less when compared to any other crops, say cotton or sorghum or maize or sugarcane, right? So in that circumstance or in this situation, rice has to be grown under micro irrigation system. Yeah, it is possible. Okay, it can be grown very well under drip irrigation system. Okay, so our focus has to be more crop per drop of water. Okay, so in the farmer's point of view, whenever they are growing their commercial crop or grain crop or ID crops, okay, under micro irrigation system, either under drip or under sprinkler irrigation system, then definitely we can enhance the water use efficiency of crop. So this is the only option, right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable time, sir. Now I would request Mrs. Kanagadara to give vote of thanks.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. It gives me an immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks on this eve. At the first outset, I thank the Almighty for His grace upon us in making this national webinar a remarkable one. I deem it with a great privilege in thanking our distinguished resource person, Dr. A. Guruswamy, Professor of Agronomy, Tamil Nadu Agricultural College and Research Institute, Madurai, who in his busy schedule presided over this session and shared valuable information, which is the need of the hour. I thank you, sir, for the informative session. Now, my sincere thanks goes to Mr. A.N. Henry Maras, Secretary, Nazareth Group of Institution, who has always been a guiding force in all our efforts. My heartfelt thanks goes to our Principal Ma'am, Dr. B. Golden Kisha, for her guidance and support in making this national webinar a great success. It's a time to thank Mrs. Tamilarasi, SAP officer, who took a great effort to organize this national webinar in this crucial time. I thank you, ma'am. It's a time to thank Mrs. P. Gayatri, Organizing Secretary of NSS, who is always ready in rendering a helping hand. I thank you, ma'am. My sincere thanks goes to Dr. Vadivel, Dr. Yamini for their cooperation and encouragement throughout the session. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants for sharing their valuable time in making this national webinar a splendid one. Once again, I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.